Hey guys, this is AJ, co-host of the AM-bition podcast, and I'm here with a very, very special guest, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Zach Paradis. I'm a musician, artist based in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions. I've noticed a trend on this podcast channel that the co-host Ace and I share. We've been having a lot of guests that are musicians, and they have very different ways that they got into the industry, or different ways they're inspired to continue working in the industry. And I had one question that I want to start off with was if there was a significant person or event that inspired you to pursue music.
Yeah. I think as far as getting the idea started in my head at first, I was raised in a very musical family. And specifically, my dad was always doing like audio related things. Like he was a sound guy at a lot of like live concerts and stuff like that. And so he always, and my mom always encouraged me and my siblings to. I come from a big family. They always encouraged us to play like a lot of instruments and stuff. And so I think once I started doing that and liked it, there was a lot of audio equipment from my dad that was already like at the house.
Wow.
Um, so that was, I mean, that was a very practical, good like introduction for me. Um, so I would say he's probably the main influence as far as like both my parents cultivated a love for music, but then he made it like very attainable. So yeah.
That's really interesting. That does sound like a very non-emotional response, but I'm just like very excited, so I'm trying to think about all my questions ahead of time.
Yeah,
But no,
sure.
but it's very interesting because I too have my parents both not necessarily have access to much audio equipment, but my mom was in the Red Coat marching band,
That's
and
cool.
my all my siblings all play guitar or some sort of instrument, so I do
Yeah,
understand what it's like to grow up in a household with a lot of access to music.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. No, it was everywhere, and it was like some of my older siblings too. Actually, like I have an older sister who's really good at piano. Like she plays and sings, and so she
nice.
would give us lessons when we were younger. I'm still like getting little like lessons from her. I live now in Georgia. There in Ohio, most of my family. But we'll do like FaceTime like piano lessons and stuff, and she'll like give me tips and advice and all that. So it's kind of a cool setup.
That's awesome. So as far as instruments go, I noticed in a lot of your videos you play, or in a lot of your songs you play guitar. When did you first start learning, or slash how did you learn how to play guitar?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that actually my first instrument, like my primary instrument, is the drums.
Hmm.
Um, so when I was like in high school, me and my buddies had a little band,
Nice.
and yeah, so I played drums. My other buddy played bass, and then my other buddy played guitar and vocal. Like he did lead vocals. So I didn't even mess around with guitar
Hmm.
until man, probably 4 or 5 years ago, more seriously. And even now, I don't consider myself by any means like a great guitarist. I think I know enough to kind of get by. Um, but it started with um, basically not having those friends anymore, like not having access to those friends. Not like we had this falling out, but like I moved, and so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have access to these friends. So I was like, well, I guess I should try and just figure this out.
Yeah, just mess around with it.
Like yeah, so it was everything up to this point has been self-taught. Shout out YouTube
Yeah.
and cover videos and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all self-taught, and then just trying to pick up whatever like tidbits I can along the way from friends and other people who play guitar. So yeah, yeah,
Wow.
kind of an unorthodox way, I guess, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are going the self route as far as like with the advent of YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a strange new world.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to. It's kind of funny how uh, statistics about like how people learn instruments and how people learn music is kind of wrong, because if you look around, most people aren't going to go through a traditional like paid weekend lessons,
Sure.
music schools. Of course, there are people who are like overachievers and or considered scholars in music, and they go that route, which is
Right.
nothing wrong with that. But like you said, there's a lot of ways to learn how to play guitar on YouTube and on the internet.
Sure. And it's like it depends on what you want to learn for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it first started, I just wanted to be able to play the songs that I liked, you know.
Yeah.
So I would Google how to play some song, probably something by Ed Sheeran or something like that, and then I would just
Nice.
figure it out. Um, and I think some of the traditional lessons can sometimes feel a little more like they don't. The goal isn't as like I just you know, I don't want to play personally, nothing against it, but I didn't want to play like classical guitar or anything like that. And so
Yeah.
it's like, it seems like a lot of the times, more traditional lessons for most instruments are more geared towards that specific route, like classical, but not always, not always.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I actually typed out some questions because I was like, okay, AJ, don't forget, don't go through the entire session and forget something that you wanted to ask and regret it later.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so as far as music videos, I had recently rewatched some of your music videos, and I was curious about how you went about getting those recorded and how you choreographed them and how you went through that whole process.
Yeah. So, I live with several roommates, and my first music video was shot, and actually several of them now have been shot by an old roommate. So, I his name is Cam. His company is Reflexio. Shout out to him. Um, but so we were talking because he does a lot of video work around the Atlanta and Augusta, Georgia areas, and so it was one of those things where it's like, well, we should definitely try to do something like if he was willing. So I asked him if he was willing, and so we just started with a simple one because I think the first one we did was for one of my songs called Olivia, and it's very simple. But then we kind of, as we did more videos, we tried to get a little more complicated. And it's funny because all of this is working with, you know, I'm an independent artist, and so it's working with like low budgets and stuff. But the mentality around the videos has always been just kind of like, all right, well, you know, we got some money to spend, but not a much, not too much. Let's see what we can make out of this. So it's kind of an adventure each time to see, like, I don't know, you got to think pretty creatively, like, okay, we don't have much here, but how can we use what we do have to make something cool? So, but yeah, his name is Cam. He's done most of my stuff, and then we dropped a couple videos recently. Me and Sky Igami, we just did a collab EP called "We're All Just Growing Up,"
Hmm.
um, and he lives in Los Angeles, and he has a guy out there. That company's called Mixed Media, and that was again just like, you know, meeting people like-minded people. In this case, it's the merge of film and music, you know, but they and those paths seem to intersect a lot. So it's just making connections, and honestly, it's been great because everything has happened very organically with people that were either friends or like quickly became friends through reaching out about the work. So yeah, it's been cool.
I am a strong believer about as far as making it in some industry or something you want to pursue. It's about who you know and the relationships you build.
Right. Yeah.
And I can definitely tell that what you've been doing, as far as saying like, oh yeah, we have a low budget, but I hope it means a lot when I say that I couldn't tell that there was any
Hmm.
like low budgetness to any of your videos. Like
That's awesome.
they seem well mixed together, well edited, and I actually do a lot of editing. So
Oh,
I have
dope.
an
Yeah,
eye for
yeah.
that.
That means even more then. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And that really is like all credit due to uh Cam Hoover and the guy not, out in LA. He's awesome. His name is Jordan Tortorello. His company is Mixed Media LA. It's really th- those guys just being like I feel like me and Igami, who I collabed with on We're All Just Growing Up, we kind of bring like this skeleton idea to the table. We're like, can you guys do this? Like, can you make something better than what we're saying? And they do. So shout out to them.
We want explosions. We want at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. Some of the things, I like to dream big, and sometimes you got to shrink some of the dreams down a little bit. But overall, it works out.
Yeah. As far as live music, where have you done any live performances, and how did
Yeah,
those go?
yeah. I've done not many. I've done a couple. That's actually an area that I've been hoping to, like grow and get better at, and also just do more of. The emphasis definitely has been more so on the creating side,
Hmm.
like just making songs and putting them out on Spotify and all that. So yeah, I've done a couple. I actually did a couple shows with Abe Parker, who you mentioned, and that's great. Both like I opened for him one time, and then actually played with him at another gig. So that's something that I feel like I'm just starting with the live side of things. I'm trying to get better, but I'm excited. I got a lot of ideas. So yeah, it's funny how it feels like with everything that you get a little bit of a handle on, like, okay, I'm making songs and I'm releasing them. I figured out how to do all that. It's like, oh dang, now I got to think about music videos. Oh dang, now I got to think about like live shows. It feels like there's just always, as
Yeah.
soon as you feel like you got a little somewhere, you made a little progress in one area, you realize there's a whole other area that you're like, oh dang, I got to start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
So it's a process for sure. It's unrelenting, but it's good because it's all fun. It's all fun.
As far as like, you mentioned like producing music and understanding all that terminology and all that, how things work, and um,
Sure.
how to mix everything together. What kind of equipment do you work with, and like how have you
Yeah.
recorded your most recent songs?
So my first like introduction into the music industry in general, I went to a community college in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from, that had an audio engineering program.
Hmm.
And so everything I did, the primary software used for that is Pro Tools. So I mean, when I first got interested in music, I messed around with GarageBand, just because it comes for free on the Mac, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, that got me kind of addicted to like making music and stuff. But then once I started this school, everything was in Pro Tools, and so like I've Pro Tools is like my number one tool resource for sure. Like it's literally an everyday thing for me. Has been for the past like 7 years. Um, so I use Pro Tools. I do everything. I make beats in Pro Tools because also, in addition to my own music, I produce a lot of honestly a lot of hip hop, but
Hmm.
also pop music, and I make everything in Pro Tools. I mix, I record, and all of that's happening in Pro Tools just because I spent so much time in it and I just know it very well. So it's just like everything. I don't know. I've been trying to learn Ableton as well, but I just get to the point where I don't know how to do something. Then I'm like, I could have done this already in Pro Tools. So then I go back to Pro Tools. Um, but yeah, do that, and then I don't know how detailed you want me to get, but I have an Apollo interface, which is awesome. I love it.
Wow.
Um, but it's a pretty simple setup because I mean it's I got my I work out of a home studio, so I got my little setup with my mic, and I got a place to record clients if they come through because I also make money on the side doing that.
Oh, nice.
Uh, yeah, keyboard, a little synth that I love, a little analog 25 key Korg synth. That's pretty awesome. Which I've yet I think to use on any of my stuff. It's a fairly recent addition to my setup. But then just got guitars, keyboards, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, pretty small setup gets the job done. And I'm like pumped about it. I love it. It's good.
I love, what's funny is I'm really into audio as well, and so I'm always trying to figure out how I can improve my tiny setup. And
Yeah,
so, um, it I asked this question because, like, like, I was curious, but also because, I'm always looking for ways to improve my setup. Right now, I
sure.
use a SM57.
Yeah.
What's it called? Shure mic.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, what microphone do you primarily use for, like you said, you record with clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I have an Audio Technica 4033, which is just a large diaphragm condenser mic. So your 57 is that's kind of like one of those mics you can use on anything, but it's a little duller. It's not quite like it's not like high end mic as far as it's like $100 and more. You kind of slap it on something, hope it. I don't know. You can get good tones out of it for sure. Um, but typically when I'm working with vocals or like acoustic guitars or something, I found that condenser microphones do the trick probably the best. But it's always the balance of best case scenario and what you actually have access to.
Yeah.
I actually haven't. So I have a little SM58 that I do vocal ideas on sometimes, but then I go back and record them on my other mic. But I've been thinking I might want to actually just do some stuff because with the 58 because I don't know, you get different tones out of different mics. So
Hmm.
I don't know. That was just a random. I was kind of get
No,
into a random thought there.
that's the whole point of a podcast. You know, kind of get random thoughts. Hopefully, people find it interesting, but I do. So, um, but
Cool.
I don't know. As far as like audio goes,
Mhm.
I have a long ways to go. But you said you work with Pro Tools,
Yeah. Yep.
so as far as that goes, you said you worked with the equipment available at the community college you went to or you're going to.
I did no. So that was a long time ago. At this point, I'm getting old. Um, I went there. I graduate. Yeah, I graduated from there as a 2 year degree. I graduated in 2015. So I've been out for 5 years now at this point. But yeah, while I was there, I used those resources. But that's like it really got me on the Pro Tools train for sure.
And like access
Um,
to that equipment kind of propelled your. Would you say it propelled your ability? Like it was definitely worth it to have access to those pieces of equipment.
yeah, I mean, I speak very highly of the community college. It's Cuyahoga Community College. So if anybody in Ohio is listening, go there if you want to. Um, they were just very hands on, and they had like a really nice setup. Like they had several really high quality analog consoles in several different studio rooms, and like one of them had a big like I want to say 50 some channel SSL, um, which is just like top of the line. So being able to work on that kind of stuff, in addition to like we were setting up drums and miking them, we were prepping sessions for vocalists to come in, we were working on songs from scratch, like that hands-on experience, making mistakes and then having professors who can come in and like tweak it, adjust it, give you insight. I mean, simple things that like learning Pro Tools better, learning how to edit, learning how to increase your workflow, like or streamline your workflow. I guess I speak very highly of it because I think it helped me a ton. Because I got an internship directly after or as part of finishing that 2 year program. And when I walked into the internship, I felt like totally prepared, and I was like, "Oh,
Wow,
this is great!" Like, this school actually prepared me like exactly for what I was about to be doing.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so shout out Tri C. They get a bad rap sometimes playing A and B field, so Tri C. But no, we love you, Tri C. Keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um,
That's amazing.
well, as far as having that experience of being able to, make mistakes, being able to work through making music, what advice do you have for aspiring musicians as far as making music and getting out there?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is you just gotta you just gotta do it and do it a lot. Like the times when I experienced the most growth, specifically, I'm thinking of particular time when I invested really heavily into just I'm going to spend time making beats, and that's what I'm going to do. I noticed significant growth from that isolated time that was completely focused on I'm just going to make a beat tonight. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to make a beat as well. The next day, you go on YouTube, you figure things out that you don't know, you collaborate with buddies, you learn from them. The biggest thing though is just doing it, like putting in the time. There's that whole saying about it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. And I don't know at what hour I am. Like, I don't know how far I've made it, but I think I'm several thousand in, and that makes a huge difference, you know.
And for like songwriting?
And all of it, like making beats, writing songs. Yeah. What was I gonna say? It's even like songwriting is I'm gonna reference Ed Sheeran because he's one of my favorites, and I've already referenced him once. But he had this thing where he said he's like writing songs is like turning on an old faucet. He's like at first when you the water's gonna be all like dirty, muddy, disgusting. You can't drink it, and that's like your first couple songs, you know, or first a lot of songs. Who knows? But he's like, if you keep running that faucet, you know, eventually you get to the clear water, you get to the good stuff. And so I've personally felt that and experienced that. So for me, it's just putting in the time and you know, having a reason why you do it. Like
Yeah.
for me, like I know even now, like even if I would never make any money off of music for the rest of my life, I would for sure, no doubt, keep doing it. Like I would have to get another job too, you know, because we all need money.
Yeah.
But like I just truly love it. I've always loved, especially like lyricism and like I was real big into poetry. Loved telling stories. When I was younger, I thought I was going to be an author. Thought I was going to write fiction books. That didn't happen. But now it's kind of cool how I get to, you know, write and I really enjoy the process, but I also have, you know, like stories I want to tell and things I
Yeah.
want to convey. And so I think putting the time in, like having a reason to do it and really actually genuinely loving it. Um, I think that's probably my top two things that I would say to aspiring young musicians, which is funny because it's like I view myself as an aspiring young musician.
Yeah. So as far as you said, you could almost say, sorry, I'm really jumbled up. I'm trying to make sure that I say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, you said that when you were younger, you were thought about being an author,
Yeah.
in almost a sense, all the skills that you culminated through the years of your love for poetry, and
Mhm.
telling stories. You could almost argue that you're still doing that, you know, in your
Yeah.
music.
That's the really cool thing. Yeah. I definitely agree. And I feel grateful for that too, because it was funny because I was like realizing one day, I think I was talking to a friend or something, how I
Hmm.
wanted to be a writer when I was younger. Then I was like, oh, but not now I write songs. So I am a writer,
Yeah.
just a different kind of writer. So it's really cool. It's cool how it came full circle.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for answering my random questions.
Of course. Yeah, hey man, if you want to talk gear and get more details on that, I'm here for you. We can get your setup going.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Zach, if there's anything you want to promote or if anything you want to shout out or
Oh
any
yeah.
future plans, take this time now.
All right, here we go. Well, first of all, I just released an EP with my good friend Igami. The EP is called "We're All Just Growing Up." We talk about a lot of stuff, especially like the experience of just, as the title says, growing up and trying to figure life out, and just realizing that life is not what we thought it would be. It's really like, I mean, it's some of my favorite music I've ever made. It'll make you dance, it'll make you cry, it'll make you think about life. It's all that, you know. So go listen to that. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, the whole nine yards. Also got some music videos that just came out for it, so check that out and stay tuned for the rest of 2020. We got some more music coming. I'm getting back to some of my solo stuff. Really pumped about that. So details to come on that. So follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Zach Paradis, and yeah, hope you guys like the content.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening and see you guys next week.